So one side there is a picture poster of Sholey and another side zero. And I hope most of you have seen Sholey. At least I know my several friends, I am much older than most of you. My friends have seen Sholey several times. I can remember one of my friends has seen Sholey more than 100 times. So when he crossed the century, he told, okay, friends, I have seen Sholey 100 times. So I have made century. And on the right side, this is one of the very recent one, zero. Why I have kept this poster? Because it is a very big budget. It was a very big budget, the cinema of more than 200 crore. And zero was one of the flop, big budget flops was one of the zero. Then what is the difference between these two cinema, these two picture, these two movie? Zero, there is a lot of advancement in the technology, the sound, the picture quality, everything is fantastic. But still, the audience didn't like it. Whereas the Sholey, long back, and still people used to see it, love it. As many times they are seeing it, still they love it. So what is the basic difference between these two? Basic difference is the storytelling. This is what is making the difference between the Sholey and zero. So how you are going to tell your story, that makes the difference. And I'll be giving you another very small example. Many of you have, used to listen stories from your grandmothers, grandfathers, isn't it? And was they using any PPTs, any other pictures? No. So they was telling story. How they was telling story? Once there was a palace, there was a beautiful princess. So what is happening? The child immediately starts imagining there's a beautiful palace in his mind, starts imagining a princess, beautiful princess. And there is no limit of imagination. Suppose instead of that princess, there is one heroine, say for example, Deepika Padukone. So what will happen? So immediately in your mind, you cannot imagine more beautiful lady than Deepika. But if it is, your grandmother is telling so beautiful princess, beautiful nose, beautiful eyes. So you just go on imagining. That means how you are presenting, how you are telling the story, that is more important than how you are, the presenting, the preparing the slide. So here I have divided my whole presentation into three topics. Number one is who should present. Second part is how to prepare presentation. And third part is how to deliver. Once we have prepared it, how to deliver, what are the art of delivering it. So let us start with the first part. Who should present? What is the answer? He should present who is master on the topic. And no one else should present. And if I give you an example, suppose there is a lecture on Antarctica. And there are, see that I have divided into those who have visited Antarctica and those who have not visited Antarctica. And those who have visited Antarctica, some of them can prepare PPT very nicely. Some cannot prepare the PPTs nicely. And those who have not visited Antarctica, some of them has started it very nicely. Research is very nice. And some of them have not started or researched nicely, but they are very well skilled in preparing the excellent PPTs. So now, whose presentation will be the best one? So this is an example of your picture zero. And this is an example of the picture, the Sholey. So best we can understand if we are making these four categories, this category, that means who has visited Antarctica and who is well versed, can prepare PPTs nicely, they will be presenting it best. Next best, who cannot prepare the PPT but can share his experience. He'll be telling, okay, how I went there, what was the food, what was the climate, how he spent those trains. So they are not telling the stories through a PPT, but still they'll be better presented than the others. Those who have started and researched it well will be the next. And those who are having the excellent skill in preparing the PPT, but not have done any research, any studied, and have never visited, they will be present. Their presentations will be the worst. So what is the essence? Means he should deliver who is having some experience. But still, those who don't have any experience, even then they can present, provided they have studied it well and researched it well and have prepared, and delivering it. So remember, whenever we are asking someone to deliver the lecture, the best presentations we are expecting from those people who are experienced in that particular field. Their storytelling will be the best than those who have not experienced in that field, but just reading and preparing it. The next part I'll be discussing about the how to prepare a good PPT. So what are the components of the good PPT? First of all, we need a background to prepare a PPT. Like here, my background is white, little bit of color in the corner. So too much of colors must be avoided. And I can remember when I was, younger, when I used to use PPT, I used to use a lot of photographs, a lot of pictures, very colorful, dazzling. But you know that why those kind of, stunning photographs and all those things should not be used. The reason is the audience attraction will be going more towards, not towards your text. It will be diverted towards your slides, towards the pictures, towards the videos. So ultimately, that is not going to, be a good presentation. So the background should be simple or a little bit of color, but not too much of color, not too much of photograph. That should be the background of the PPTs. So I'm just discussing this part, how to prepare a PPTs. I'm not going into the details about the PowerPoint presentations, just outline of it. Then each presentation should have a title. Normally this title is given by your organizers, who is organizing a conference or who has asked you to deliver a lecture. But we have to remember that we should be justifying our talk on that title. Like I'll be giving one example. Many of you might have heard this story that in the exam, there is an essay. Students are asked to write an essay on flood, but the student don't know the much. The flood is not comfort area. He has read mostly the cow. So what he has written? After the flood was over, there is a very beautiful green grass. The cows used to eat that green grass. And then he went to write the essay on the cow. So that should not be. It should not be that you have to justify the title. I have seen ample amount of presentations that where the presenters are not justifying on the title. You have to remember the title. Sometimes you might, if you feel that, okay, your knowledge on that particular title is not good enough, or the literature is not much available, you can ask your organizers that change the title a little bit. I'll be giving you a very recent example of mine. Very recently, just around 3-4 months or 6 months back, the Malaysian Pain Society asked me to deliver a lecture on the evidence-based management of cervical discogenic pain. So I was searching the literature, and evidence in favor of cervical discogenic neck pain was very, very few. Lumbar discogenic back pain, there are lots of evidences, lots of interventional procedures are there, but cervical interventional, okay, sorry, in the title it was interventions. So interventions are very minimal in the cervical discogenic pain. So I actually contacted the organizers. I told, okay, the evidence-based interventional procedures for the cervical discogenic neck pain is not there. So I'll be asking you to change this. Either remove the evidence-based, then we can discuss whatever is available. Many of them are not evidenced. Some procedures or some particular treatment modality will be evidenced only when there are ample amount of the literature studies on it. If it is not there, it cannot be called as an evidence-based management. So evidence-based management was not there. Then they actually removed the term evidenced, and then I was asked just to deliver a lecture on the management of the cervical discogenic neck pain. So that means if some title is already given, you have to justify that topic. You cannot, go divert to your comfort area, avoiding and not justifying the title. So you can, if you are having that facility, you can change your topic, but otherwise, always remember that you have to justify the title. Then comes the introduction part of this PPTs, PowerPoints, and you have to remember that introduction is very, 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 very important. And introduction should be such that will create the interest. Like here in my PPT, what I have done at the beginning, I have compared Sholey with Zero movie. And I tried to create an interest to tell the essence of my whole presentation, that the presentation should be like a storytelling. And that has stimulated, I hope, stimulated the audience. The same way, many times whenever I talk on the pain pathway, I start like this, that I am taking a drop of blood from all of you, single drop of blood to test your blood sugar. You'll be having some pain. And if I'm asking that is all the people's pain are similar because I have picked the same needle, everybody knows the answer, that it should be never same. Even if the tissue damage because of the needle prick is same, even then the pain will not be same. So the question is, why I start that way? That means when I'm telling this story, I'm stimulating the audience that what they are going to get, which question will be answered in my whole presentations. Like any topic, any articles, there should be a essence that is normally reflected by the title. So what kind of questions I'm going to, the answer in the whole of this presentation, that is one of the very important area for the introduction part. And you have to again remember that the introduction should be only the 20% of the whole lecture, maximum. Sometimes it can be little less, but introduction slide should be always there. Even it is less, it should be at least one slide to tell what exactly is there. And it is still better if during the introduction period, you are dividing the whole into the different sections, and each sections you are going to, I'm coming to the next slide, the body of the PPT. The body of the PPT, what we are telling, that we are dividing into the whole of the topic into several sections, and each sections, whenever you will be completing, will be summarizing it. Why? Because study says that the attention span of the audience is not very long. The majority of the time, more than 10 minutes, if you are talking, the audience diverted. And to keep them, we have to be cautious and we have to summarize it in each sections. When you are starting, we have to stimulate them with some, giving some history, giving some similar kind of stories, and then you have to cover it and again summarize that section and go to the next section. Normally, the body part of the PPT should be somewhere around 80%, but again, there is no hard and fast rule. And dividing into section, again, it is not a hard and fast rule, but if you are having a longer PPT, you should be having the dividing into the smaller part. Then comes the summary. Again, summary should not be just a slide. Even if during the presentations it is a slide, even then you have to summarize whatever you have done. And you have to tell the take-home message. So summary is again very important part. So three important part: introduction part, the body part, and the summary part. And this is a general rule to prepare it. Avoid too many text. If you are bombarding too much of text there, so it never looks good. There is a rule called rule of 6. What is that? There should not be more than 6 bulleted points as much as possible. Sometimes it is not possible. Sometimes you're making, like here, you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 6 words in each, at maximum 6. So here you see 4, here it is 3, here it is 3, here it is 6. Again, it is not a very hard and fast rule that we should be restricted ourselves into 6 points and the 6 words, but we have to try to that. If there is too much of words, normally, again, audience are always lazy. You have to stimulate them. You have to draw the attraction, and that is the reason why too much of text, too much of photographs, too much of charts, too much of tables, too much of videos are all should be avoided. But it should be used most appropriately. And we should be always keeping the room for the imagination. At the beginning, I told you that if I'm talking a very beautiful princess versus I'm telling that the Deepika Padukone is a heroine who is playing the role of the princess, the difference between these two. So when I'm talking and describing the princess, then the audience's imagination should be something. Whereas when I'm showing some picture, the imagination stops there. It do not grow further. That is the reason why we call the television as an idiot box. So it cuts, it retards our imagination power. So always, whatever into the words, don't complete the words, complete the sentence fully, just write the keywords. Very short, rule of 6, always remember. And again, appropriate use of photographs, charts, tables, and videos, all these can be making it attractive. But too much of these, again, going to spoil everything. I've completed the second part. First part, I have discussed who are eligible to deliver a lecture. Second part, how we are going to present a presentations. And third part is how to deliver a good lecture. So how to deliver a good lecture, most important part is you should be knowing your audience. Suppose you are talking a tribal and liberal here in front of general people, your presentation should be different. If you are talking in front of the pain physicians, your presentation should be different. If you are presenting in front of the doctors, but not pain physicians, again, your presentation should be different. That means your presentation, you should change. You should be remembering who are your audience, and your presentations, your talk should be modified accordingly. Always stay connected with the audience, particularly when you are giving the physical meeting. Keep always eye contact. Try to understand whether they are enjoying your lecture or just sitting. Sometimes they are gossiping, sometimes they are sleeping. If your presentation is attractive, then your audience cannot sleep. Your audience cannot leave the room. So your presentation should be like that. So you have to make contact, eye contact with the audience, rotating, all the whole of this audience. Your face should be smiling, and we should be always using our face. We should be using the hands. And when here I'm sitting, that's why I'm using only the hands. But when I'll be delivering lecture on the stage, I should not be just standing and delivering the lecture. I should be moving. My hands will be moving, my feet will be moving. I might be roaming around in the stage, but not just standing and delivering the lecture. So moving, appropriate using of our eyes, appropriate use of our hands, our fingers, all these are very important. And we should be keeping contact with the audience. And never think that your audience is full. Always respect your audience, always. And sometimes we are thinking that, okay, audience don't know anything. Sometimes we are using some the topic, like you might not be knowing this or something like that. Any such kind of word which is basically ignoring the audience must be avoided. Sometimes we feel that, okay, we are much knowledgeable, we are using some words like, okay, it might be going over your heads. So always avoid those kind of sentences which is going to hurt your audience. Respect your audience, keep connected with your audience. And you have to remember, you are presenting for whom? You are presenting for the audience. So audience is your top. We have to respect them. To tell story, never have an attitude that you are going to teach them. Always think that you are telling a story like your grandmother. And never ever read line by line. Many times I have seen in different conferences that a presenter is just reading line by line. So reading line by line is the most bad kind of presentations. Never ever read line by line. And your words, just like what I'm doing, I'm just looking at the keywords, what next would be, I'm going to tell. So your presentation is just, stimulating you. You know that this is my point. I am going to tell on this point next. So your presentations in front of you is because of that. Your laptop, your computer is just for that. Don't never see your, the presentations, your slides, and read line by line. That is a worst kind of presentations. And you have to keep the room. Again, I told you from the beginning that let your audience imagine, keep some room. Don't show everything, just keep some room so that they are basically imagining. This is one of the very, very important part. Add emotion. So how to add emotion? Again, I'll be giving you an example of a movie. Sometimes a scene is there where the heroine started crying. So how they are crying? If they are very much attached to the story, become a part of that, this eye tears might be coming automatically. But many times what is happening? They're putting glycerin to have an artificial tear. So your emotion should be again the real emotion. You should be eating, digesting the topic in such a way that your emotions will be coming automatically. So this passion should be there when you are delivering the lecture. And how, again, I'll be giving another example of a reality show of, suppose there is a, the singing reality show. So what happens? Many times judges used to tell, okay, you sing like that. Suppose somebody is singing a Lata Mangeshkar song. So many times judges used to tell that, okay, don't copy Lata Mangeshkar. So this song sang by Lata Mangeshkar, you heard, you get inspired, but you make it your own. When people will be listening it should be your own. The same way, the passion, the topic, when I'm talking, I have to make this presentation as my own. I should be making it in my own way. I should be making it, digesting it, and automatically the voice modulation will be coming. Voice modulation means, you have seen sometimes I'm talking, with a high pitch. Sometimes you're talking slow. Sometimes I'm talking fast. Sometimes I'm talking slow. So that is what is modulation. And this modulation should be coming automatically. I remember there was an advertisement in our, when he was younger, that suppose a lover is telling that I hate you. So I hate you sometimes really means I hate you. And sometimes I hate you means I love you. That means how we are talking this hate you, it carrying the meaning. So your modulation carries a lot of things. And this modulation of the voice means, that is the key point of your presentations. If you're just reading line by line without modulation of the voice, your voice is always same pitched, your presentation is never going to be a good presentation. You should be modulating, you should be highlighting with, higher pitch. You should be stressing on some point, adding your emotions, and somewhere your voice will be low. Sometimes you'll be slow. Sometimes you'll keeping the pause just, to stimulate your audience. That suppose you are talking, and suddenly you stop. And what will happen? Your audience will start thinking, okay, what is coming next? So this kind of thing is very, very important. Other part, I already told, appropriate uses of your hand, walking when you are giving an offline presentations, and keep in contact, show your emotions, show your passion on that particular topic. And this is again very important. You have given a presentations. Last night you have read a lot, and next day you are vomiting. That cannot be a good presentation. Whenever you are receiving a topic, go on reading, prepare, edit. Several times you edit, several times you read, you prepare presentations. Say, for example, I have decided to present this presentation of art of presentations 1 week back. And when I have started preparing these presentations, almost 5 days back. And I have edited this presentation at least 8-10 times. Whenever I'm just opening it, I'm thinking, okay, how can I make it better? How can I cut short the words? How can I make it better so that my audience is really liking it? So never ever vomit anything which you have read last night. Your audience is intelligent enough. He'll be just understanding, okay, they are, just indigested material you're vomiting. So read, and digest, assimilate, and then you are eligible to speak. And remember, knowledge has several, the layers. Like, suppose if I've talked about some osteoporosis, I'm having some knowledge about the osteoporosis, my core knowledge, which is very sound, very basic topics I know very nicely. Then there is some other knowledge which is not that very clear. Then again, there is some layer of knowledge which is, very little information I have, but don't have much of information. So what part should I talk? I talk only that part which is having very clear knowledge inside. I should not be talking anything about that part where I have some knowledge or very little knowledge. So it should be whatever knowledge you are having, never ever present more than 50% of it. Even if it is less, still less, then your presentation is going to be better. Suppose your knowledge is 100 and you are presenting only 10. Remember, your presentation will be superb. If your knowledge is 100 and you are talking 99, your presentation is never going to be good. And always keep some room. Keep your 50% knowledge during the question answer period. And just as I told you, the layers, the layer where your concept is completely clear, you don't have any doubts about that, just present, just share that part. Other layers you need not present. Always remember, whenever we are, if we are teaching something, lectures, presentations, and not for the teaching. For the teaching, you write a book. But when you are delivering the presentations, you are going to stimulate thought. You are inspiring to read more. And that is the main aim of your presentation. Tell a story, let them imagine. So that is the most important motto of your presentation. So whatever your knowledge you are having, never ever tell more than 50% of that. And try to present even less, then your presentation is going to be superb. So let me summarize. First of all, only those persons who present who are either well experienced or very much knowledgeable based on his studies, based on his researches. Whenever you will be presenting, remember that there are different parts: introduction, body, summary, and general rule, whatever I have shared. And whenever you are delivering a good lecture, the way of presentation, just remember the emotions, the passion attached with the topic, you should be expressing that. And that is going to be a superb presentation. So thank you very much. And if you have any question, I'll be happy to share. Any questions from anybody? Otherwise, we'll be going to the next part. That means